Views expressed in the videos are my observation, analysis of events, persons based on principles of astrology. It's not my intent to predict, forecast absolute outcomes, only suggest how they may unfold. Nothing is set in stone. I could be wrong, but often I'm right. My desire is not to promote fear, only inform about what we see unfolding. It is our wish to prepare our subscribers for events that could affect them, their family, their goals, and their future, to help to prepare for what you may already suspect is happening, and to send a warning shot across the bow and raise a flag of concern. Our goal is to help, not hinder, in these perilous times, to inspire and offer possible direction, and to reveal that a greater plan and purpose are behind all that is happening. Eventually, we will see a brighter day. If you would like to show your appreciation for our work on these videos or this channel, and also the Knowing Whispers channel, you can always click on the word thanks at the bottom of all the videos. Hello everybody, it's Robert Cosmar, the Astrology of Life YouTube channel, and also the 3 newsletters on Substack, Knowing Whispers, Messages from the Universe, Trump and America, and Ask the Astrologer. Today my video is a few days late. I'm going to focus here upon the charts of the Supreme Court and Donald Trump, and also the transits at that particular time, or even particularly now. And what I'm hoping to do here is to show you astrologically what I feel is the reason why the Supreme Court was essentially willing to go in the direction that Donald Trump is going. And hopefully this will help you to understand a little bit more how astrology works, and also give you some different viewpoints on maybe what we would call time and space. Okay. One of the hardest things that you run into when you're talking about a chart for somebody born in 1946 and something that happened in 1776 is that logically, reasonably, you can't imagine how these two could affect one another. The thing that you may not understand, or that you will find difficult to understand, is that when it comes to the universe beyond our time-space dimension, there is no time gap. There's just simply conscious energy that manifests at one point, and then there's conscious energy that manifests at another point. And that because of this concept of oneness, okay, and this concept of timelessness beyond the physical plane, beyond our own ideas about reality, that these two could have an interaction with one another, or an impact. So what happened in 1776 that created the chart of the United States of America, and what happened in 1789 with the chart of the Supreme Court, okay, and the chart of Donald Trump, they all have purpose and meaning, okay, over time, I guess you would say. Okay, in other words, the events that are being shaped as we see them right now, between the Supreme Court, between Donald Trump, between the United States of America, these all are interconnected, okay? And I realize how difficult maybe it is for you to wrap your head around that, but it is something that as you go into meditation, for some, this is something that might be shared with you or revealed to you. It is just something that over a period of time, over a period of meditation and study, that this became obvious to me, okay, with the help, I'm sure, of my guidance. So despite the fact of the number of years between, okay, you're talking about what is the fated or destined relationship between these two entities. And I'm going to go into the actual points here to try to highlight this. The things that I noticed about these charts, and this is a tri-wheel here. This is the chart of Donald Trump. This is the chart of the Supreme Court. And this is the transits that are currently going on right now. Okay? And there are several key factors here, all right, that are behind what you see manifesting and developing. Over here in the 12th house with the Supreme Court, you have Uranus conjuncting Pluto. Okay? Over here in Donald Trump's 6th house, you have Pluto very closely trining his Uranus. All right? Pluto and Uranus essentially mean revolution or change, freedom through change. Okay? So the dynamic fit between Donald Trump's state of mind and his actions and what we see happening with the Supreme Court, they are intersecting one another. Okay? They're intersecting one another. Another very close aspect here is the Supreme Court's Neptune in the sign of Libra, okay, is trining Donald Trump's sun. Okay? And this is another example here of how the ideals, okay, are in alignment with the expression of the energy that is Donald Trump and of what he is trying to accomplish. So these are just small indicators here, okay, of the connectedness between Donald Trump and the Supreme Court as an entity. All right. And again, I apologize for the fact that it is so difficult to try to explain this because in many cases there's no real logic for this. It's simply a matter of knowing or seeing something, which can happen at any time when you're talking about meditation and astrology. The other factor here is that the Supreme Court is experiencing a Saturn return. Now, normally in a Saturn return, what happens is that a person begins to take, They begin to take investigation into their life, and they begin to ask the questions of, have I lived up to my potential? Have I achieved my goals? Okay, what are my goals? What do I stand for? Who am I? And from the standpoint of maybe some within the Supreme Court, you have this questioning going on because you see them deviating from the Constitution. Okay, so here's another example how something that was created in 1789 is being impacted by transits in the year 2024. Okay. Again, this is one of those things about astrology, about the concept of oneness, about the concept of timelessness, you know, because we tend to look at things from a time-space basis. And our focus is merely on time-space, okay? And that this time-space is being judged as different from this one because the years are different. But as far as the universe is concerned, it doesn't matter, okay? I hope that makes some sense to you. All right, let's move forward here. Now, another factor here that I think is significant, all right? Again, this is the chart of the United States of America. And then the second chart here is the chart of the Supreme Court, 1789. And then this is the transits. July the 1st is when I did this. You'll notice here that the natal Mars of the Supreme Court is in opposition to the Pluto, okay, in the chart of the United States of America. It's also in opposition, it's a white opposition to the transiting Pluto, all right? As I have mentioned several times, on the day of the election in 2024, okay, Mars is going to be almost exactly, okay, to that day, on opposition to Pluto, to transiting Pluto. And that this is a signature opposition to conflict, to violence, to anger, to aggression. Okay? To you could say probably an outbreak of madness. And here you have a situation where it's showing that in regards to the chart of the United States of America, okay, that there is a conflict between the Supreme Court and the United States of America. And again, it's hard to say when these things manifest. There could be something that I'm not seeing here that's triggering this now. All right. But it's all a part of the dynamics of what you see unfolding and why they're happening. And this applies not only just to institutions, but people. It applies to you and your chart. There are many techniques that astrologers by and large don't use that I'm also going to get into here in a little bit because I think it's significant to understand them. The parts, the Arabic parts. I'll try to explain that in another video probably that I do. But you can see here, okay, in this combination here, this opposition, that at some point the potential exists there for there be open hostility to the values, Pluto in the second house of the United States of America. All right, now move forward here a little bit. I've highlighted this on the other image, but I'm going to go ahead here and bring out some other things too that I think that are significant here. And I'm going to show you, I think, 4 images here that have to do with the interaction between the Supreme Court and Donald Trump in particular. Okay, because I'm trying to show you here why it is that they have ruled in his favor, what's going on behind the scenes. All right, now over here to the right in the aspectarian, you'll see here these arrows to highlight so you can see what I'm talking about. And you can see here that Mercury squares his Venus and that Mercury squares his Saturn. Okay, now this tells me that there was some dissent in this particular opinion, and there is not total agreement. All right, but there's other things that have gone on here. Okay, now essentially, with the exception down here of Saturn squaring the Sun, you're going to be seeing some combinations that are very favorable to him. And this is how you would look at this. If you were doing a synastry, you would say, okay, I'm weighing the pluses and the minuses and which one of those seems to be stronger. And oddly enough, when you take a look at all this stuff, all the conjunctions, the trines, and the sextiles, you can see that the energy of these two conscious entities, one of them being the Supreme Court of the United States, the other one being Donald Trump, were harmoniously able to connect to bring about a fated consequence. All right, you can see here that the Supreme Court's Mars conjuncts his Venus, Mars conjuncts his Saturn, Jupiter sextiles his Sun, Jupiter trines his Moon. Okay, Jupiter trines his Mars, Jupiter is sextiles his Jupiter, Jupiter sextiles his Uranus, Jupiter sextiles, okay, his North Node, and trines his South Node. All of these aspects indicate a compatibility, okay, a likability, an agreeability. And this is just part of the reason why it's not beyond belief that something that we saw happen, you know, could happen. And again, this is the beauty of astrology, because when you watch TV and you see the emotional ping pong match going on between Fox News and MSNBC and all this emotions, okay, and everybody trying to give reasons why it won't happen, you know, or trying to give reasons why it should happen. The thing about astrology is that it's not emotional. It's just like Joe Friday and the old Dragnet series. It's just the facts. Okay? And this is how most astrologers proceed. What are the facts? What is the evidence that I see here comparing charts to chart? What's the likelihood of the outcome here? All right. Now, as I mentioned here a little bit ago, Saturn did square his Sun. And I'm going to go to another image here. Saturn does square his moon. Saturn right here squares the sun and it squares the moon, okay, in the 7th house here. And the only thing I can gather from this is that he didn't get all that he wanted, or that the Supreme Court felt like they could give him so much, and actually they gave him too much and probably didn't think it all the way through, hard to believe. So he wasn't totally, okay, let go, unleashed, so to speak. There are some hindrances. It could also be that there are further hindrances down the road, okay, over this particular Supreme Court decision. All right. Saturn trying Saturn, again, shared aims, purposes, working together, okay, effortlessly allowing things to proceed. Okay. Saturn squaring the nodes, Saturn squaring Uranus, okay, not a popular decision, obviously. All right. Neptune, no, that's Uranus conjuncting Pluto. I mentioned that that's tendencies towards revolutionary thinking. Okay. When you go down here, Neptune squares his Venus and also squares his Saturn. Again, I've talked about Neptune an awful lot in regards to the planets that go from Saturn on down. Depending upon whether or not the energy is light or dark, it can bring positive or negative outcomes. Okay? And in this particular situation, again, it's another indication there that there may have been some confusion in dealing with Donald Trump and understanding Donald Trump. You have to remember that this movement, this MAGA conspiracy-driven movement, is not based on rationale. Okay? It is based upon some deception, some lies, and some incorrect conscious assumptions by a lot of the followers. All right? All right, now down to, I think, close to the end here of this particular series of charts. You'll notice here that the Supreme Court, Pluto trines his sun, Pluto sextiles his moon, Pluto trines his Jupiter, Pluto trines his Uranus very closely. Pluto trines his north node, Pluto sextiles his south node. This right here, along with what I showed you earlier with the Jupiter, you know, if it was only the Jupiter and then you had the Saturn in there, I would say that probably it would have been a 50-50 split, with Trump getting very little of what he wanted. But this is a whole different ballgame. All right. This, in a sense, is, you know, the universe saying, karma, fate, and destiny here, we're going to support things going in this particular direction. Okay? Or this is how we want things to evolve, because we have things that people don't understand and don't realize that are going on that are necessary, because we see the overall circumstances in the world are not good. Okay, so hopefully you'll see here from what I'm showing you that this was not something that was just by chance or a fluke. There were astrological reasons why he was shown favorability, why things are going on the way they are in the Supreme Court. Okay, and how both the Supreme Court and Donald Trump can impact us for some reason. And in all honesty, I don't think that anybody totally knows what the reason is. And I would never even presume to predict how this thing is going to turn out. Okay. I do know there's other things that are to come. I do know those things could change the game completely. And of course, we're also, you know, worried here, I think, about the fact that Joe Biden may lose, you know, the support that he needs unless something dramatic happens to keep him in the position that he's in. And I do feel that him being in that position really has a lot to do with how these things are going to evolve. And I know that, you know, people are emotionally giving all kinds of excuses and reasons, and personality enters into it, I'm sure. Age is a factor going on in here, but it's got nothing to do with that when it comes down to the reality of what's going to happen. It is hidden in the astrology, okay, as to what we can expect. All right, and that's pretty muddled. All right, so again, um, I know it's frustrating because a lot of the time when I do videos, you're probably asking yourself, why doesn't he just say one way or the other? Well, you can't always do that. Okay, if you're honest and if you're astrologically aware enough, all right, uh, and you cannot see the strength of one side versus the other, you have to reveal it as being a toss-up. Okay, even though emotionally that's not what people want to hear. Okay, it's not responsible to be making predictions about things that you really have no control over. All right, it can be very deceptive and very harmful. All right, so okay, I am really going through one of those periods of being swamped with videos. There are so many things that I feel that I need to do. Some of these need to be teaching videos to help you to cope, to warn you about how difficult these times can be, and to give you the tools to be able to empower yourself, okay, and to realize that you don't have to be swept up in all this crazy stuff going on. And hopefully in the long run, that will see us through until this thing resolves itself. Hopefully resolves itself peacefully. But looking at the charts and every situation that's going on and stuff, it doesn't look like that's going to happen simply. Not unless something unbeknownst to us all occurs. All right. The other thing to understand here, I think, in closing, is that you can see here we've talked about Uranus and Donald Trump's chart. The impact of Uranus also, to my way of looking at it, is a part of why we see the situation going favorably in his direction, because it is not only one of the most powerful aspects in his natal chart. All right, you might call it his lucky charm, so to speak, but it is conjuncting the fixed star Algol, the demon star. Jupiter here as well is in his 10th house. So a twist, so to speak, in fate, the direction that things were going for him was to be expected. And if you've been watching here, these videos, you know that I've been alerting you to the fact that Uranus here is going to square Mars at the end of July. This is a very significant square, and it does have to do with accidents. If it was in opposition, I'd be more inclined to think that an attempt on his life could be made. But the Uranus squaring Mars here is an indication that something unexpected is going to occur. And it stays essentially close to this aspect for about 3 months into January. All right, so between, late July to maybe say the middle of January 2025, he is under the influence of the square, unpredictability. And it could be legal. Okay, I've talked about that. It could be health related. All right. And when I get into a video here, maybe in a day or so, that talks about the Arabic parts, I think I'll bring to light some other situations here that I think you'll be interested and intrigued by. But for right now, as I said, I've got several videos that I need to do, and both on awakening and awareness and also on world events. So I'm going to be tied up, and I got astrology readings in the middle of that too. So I'm dealing with it, but it's, it's like feeling you're crowded, that type of thing. Okay, again, I hope you enjoy this. If you'd like to share it, if you would comment on it, I'd appreciate that. Maybe you'll see something I don't see. I don't say that I know it all and that I'm always right, and I don't always see everything in the charts that I'm talking about. I see those things that speak to me or that are fairly clear, but I can miss some things, and I wouldn't say that my interpretations are always absolutely, without doubt, totally 100% correct. Okay, I don't think that any honest astrologer would say that. Okay, Thank you for watching. Thank those of you that are subscribers, those of you that are members, those of you that have made donations. Thank you for your support. You know, I've said this many times, CJ and I are retired on Social Security, you know, and we still have to pay the bills for our internet service and stuff like that to keep things going, to serve you and to help you out. So thank you for those of you that, you know, take the time to return the energy that we give out to you. It is appreciated. Okay, at the moment, I can't tell you what next video is I'm going to do at this moment, but I'll let you know through the community channel when I know which one I'm going to do. And I hope that you had a great 4th of July and that you're looking forward to the weekend. So take care.